What is up, my ninjas? I'm Strident, and welcome to my review of the Batman Ascending Knight figure by Mezco. And this one's a treat for me because I never had any version of the original Bill Finger design. So seeing this and having Mezco do it through their lens is pretty dope, because all the little things that I would have done if I redesigned this suit or modernized this suit, it's all on display here. So yeah, and it's weird too, because this is a figure that has been getting a lot of shit, over the years since it released, and I don't get it, because playing with this figure, and as you'll see with all these pictures that I took, because I took a ton of pictures, it's a fun figure. There's nothing really that he can't do that I wanted to make him do. Some of the complaints about the lack of articulation and the this and the that, it just doesn't make sense, because when you actually look at the figure and you play with the figure and you pose the figure and you see the things you can do with the figure, whoever was saying that shit clearly doesn't get it. You know what I mean? They just don't get it. They want the figure to do things that you just don't do with your action figures. You know what I'm saying? Or they're just pissed off at the limitations that action figures just inherently have. So I like this figure, as you can tell. There's a very nice kind of cinematic quality to the style that they chose, and it kind of made me think, like, if this is the Silver Age, so to speak, or just the beginning, the Batman Begins of it, hence the intro card that I did. That's why he's lacking in certain areas, because they went for an older kind of, not older, younger Batman, but older style when it comes to the design. So this is before he's the menace that we know him as, or that the criminal element knows him as, and it feels like that. I mean, his belt is pretty big, so he can differentiate what all the gear is. His boots are like wrestling boots, You can see what the elements are separately. They're not stylized yet. And for me, that's a big thing. It's awesome. As far as the figure itself, just the way he moves and the type of articulation, he's a little bit on the skinny side. So you can tell this is like him fresh into it. He's not all as bulky as he's gonna get. He's pretty damn posable. I didn't have any issues with the poses that I put on, I put him through. I didn't need anything, I didn't need to modify things. I didn't need to like overextend things. He's kind of extra agile, and I like that. And it's just fun to play with him. I mean, I've told you guys in other videos, I've been playing with this guy non-stop since I got him. I've played with him more than I played with the Sovereign Knight version. And I figured that since the Supreme Knight finally dropped, I think it hit Europe first, and we're gonna get ours probably in the coming months or weeks or something, hopefully. I can't wait. I would start my review footage, or my review series of these figures, and give you guys, the usual treatment that I give to the figures that I review, because I'm a Batman fan too, but not the same way that most of the folks that you hear about are. I'm more of a old school Batman fan, and there's a limit to what I want when it comes to a Batman, and this line is hitting all those things in spades. So yeah, sit back and relax and watch these pictures and listen to me rant and explain why this is a great figure. Alright, let's get into the sculpt and paint. So this is the Ascending Knight Batman. This is all the stuff he comes with, and I figured I would show this too, so that I don't forget or lose track of anything that's and that's included with the figure. But overall, it's a really striking design. I like to keep him, his arms kind of wrapped in the cape so he can control it, because this is Batman Begins, essentially. So he's learning essentially all the things that we would come to know him for. I like that the cape seems like the material they use is a little thicker than the material used for the Sovereign Knight. So, just like a rougher, tougher kind of feel about everything. It's like he's more tactical and less theatrical, you know, whereas like as he gets further in his career, he's a combination of both. I love the larger utility belt. It's almost something I wish they would have kept going on, but you could swap the belts if you want. They are glued closed, so you are going to have to kind of wiggle around and break that glue and then decide if you want to glue it back once you put it on. Because once you start moving them around, from what I've seen, they pop off fairly easily, and I don't want my utility, I don't really take them off, you know. So there's that. This cape, like I said, it's made of a thicker material. It kind of frays around the edges, but it's easy to manipulate and get it to go where you want it, to keep it out of the way. And he just looks badass with it, you know. It looks heavy though. The symbol, I love the symbol because it's the old school, almost 1940s Batman symbol from back in the day, or insignia from back in the day, and I like that they went that way, even though this is a modernization of that design. The Kevlar bi-weave, it looks good. It looks really good. I love how they get those little, you know, I don't know, those little, the mixture, you know, where you can see the mesh and then you can see the armor, you know, or the leathery material kind of built into it, or combined, you know, with the mesh. It looks great. It looks super great. Even on his boots, I like the tips with the steel toes, you know. That's dope. It's kind of crazy that they're on the outside, but it kind of fits in line with what we saw in BVS and, you know, other designs for Batman. The cowl is dope. He just looks so mean. I like the little scar under his lip, like on his chin. And I like the armor bits on the shoulder portion of the cowl. But he just looks so mean. And if you look at the lines of the original drawings, that was something that was always kind of there. He looked more just menacing, you know. Also the longer ears, you know me, that's always been something I like. Or horns, the longer horns or ears, that has always been a thing I think worked ever since the Keaton days. I was like, yes, longer ears work perfectly. You know, the Jim Aparo artwork, the Neil Adams, you know, the Jose Luis Garcia Lopez artwork, that it just works, you know, works perfectly for me. But you see there's more of an armored thing going on, and the Bruce Wayne head, we finally got a Bruce Wayne head. I made a custom to give him his suit and stuff so he can walk around and look all dapper and shit. But we finally have an unmasked Bruce Wayne head, so you can, you know, do all those dramatic, you know, looking up and thinking about the mission that he's undertaken. You know what I mean? The vow to rid Gotham of crime. But it's a dope looking head, and something you'll see across all the figures as time goes on is he gets older, and they put subtle hints as time goes on. So now you can have those conversations with Alfred, you know, where they kind of argue, and Alfred's kind of snippy about, you know, whatever it is he's trying to, whatever piece of wisdom he's trying to impart on Master Bruce. It works, you know. I chose this Batmobile to use with him because it has the bat face like the classic Batmobile did. So anyway, overall, they've done everything right. I have no gripes, none at all. And I got this figure on sale, so that's a win. All right, so accessories. He comes with a shit ton of accessories. Um, Strangely enough, the later releases come with a little bit more, which is weird, you know, when you think about it. But they give you enough that you can't complain. You know, look at all those batarangs. Every release comes with at least 10 batarangs. That's nuts. And sometimes there's like an extra one that does something. And then you have the beautiful bag that they ripped off of Figma. It makes sense. Every toy line should have some kind of container for your gear and stuff. You know, I love them. People don't. I love them. The hands comes with a decent amount of hands. It doesn't look like much, but he also has fist hands. He does come with one hand to hold the grapple gun because he doesn't really use any other guns, so there's no need for a trigger hand. There are the fists on display. Very well detailed fist. You can see they're the Nomex gloves, and they didn't even bother to try to, like, you know, hide it. There's the open hands, which I like because they're multifunction, because you can put the you know, his batarangs in between his fingers, which I'll show you when I get to the batarangs. The grapple gun or grapnel gun, love it. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's a very simple system. Peg, hole. You have the closed grapnel when it's stored on his belt, which he has an area for on his belt. Then you have the, the closed grapnel in the gun. Then the open grapnel in the grapnel gun. Jesus, how many times can I say grapnel fast? And that looks great. So you can have those poses when he's about to shoot off, a grapnel onto something. Then you have the grapnel with the rope. I didn't undo this because it's a pain in the ass to deal with, so I didn't bother, but you get the idea. Then there's the bat brick. This is weird. It's like a knife, like a giant knife or bladed weapon with, knuckle holes and whatnot. And I kind of came up with an idea for how to use it. It's almost like when he needs something to help, shield and cut things. Of course, somebody's making a shit ton of noise. But it's perfect for those kind of grimy fights when he's like fighting someone like Croc, You could use that to block, and he could use it to, give him some extra oomph. But I don't really plan on making him use it that much. Like I mentioned earlier, a shit ton of batarangs. I love it. You never run out. The problem was while I was doing this review, I had my fan on, and they constantly were flying all over the room, which was annoying. But they're dope, and they mimic his symbol on his chest. So you can't really complain, the style is there. The hands again, you remember I was saying how I like those open hands because they have dual function. He can, have them in an open pose, or you can put those batarangs that you got so many of in between his fingers, like so. And it just looks great. You know what I mean? You've seen him throw batarangs, you've seen him hold them in between his fingers. Some Batman figures come with hands where the batarangs are stuck in between his fingers anyway. You don't even have to worry about that here, because he even comes with hands to just hold the batarang, and you also can stick an extra one in between his fingers. And then there's the last weapon. I like this one because it seems really old school, and it's almost like a throwback to the '89 Batman because he had all those wrist-mounted gadgets. So, say a bad dude is trying to, gas on him, and Batman doesn't feel like chasing him down, and he wants to have him incapacitated and left for the police. Well, he has this special wrist-mounted kind of like a crossbow weapon that he can use to just, pop them in the back of their neck and, leave them for in whatever state he needs to leave them in. And I think it's dope because, like I said, it reminds me of '89. He had tons of that kind of stuff throughout the movie. He even had like extension type deals to keep people at bay while he's fighting them, which, it just seems like the kind of stuff that's in line with Batman's philosophy. Gadgets, he's a gadget dude. But it looks good, and it looks old school, so it fits. And then, of course, you have the stand. The stand is good because you have the extended arm, so if you want him to do certain things, you can use the arm. If you want him to stand, you can use the peg. You can remove the peg really easily, just turn it upside down and pop it out. So if you want to get him to stand up and look cool like so, you can do that. And you can display him like that, of course. But if you want him airborne, you got the arm, so you can have him doing that kind of stuff. Articulation. This part's going to be quick because there's not really that much to say. Whatever you want him to do, he can pretty much do. You've already seen it on display in all the pictures that I took leading up to here, the little short in the beginning. You've seen what he can do. His neck is fully posable. He can do a lot. It's a very expressive ball joint up there. It's a double one. So there's one in the base, one in the top. The bigger one is in the top, so the head can freely move around on it. It's not like Marvel Legends where it's a tiny ball joint at the top of the head, and or like a tiny hole and a huge ball. It's the perfect size, and it's easy to remove the head if you want to put the alternate heads on there as well. Well, alternate head on there. His torso, ball jointed torso. It's really nice. Double jointed elbows. He's got a bicep swivel, and you can see that's bending back, and he can bend back a little bit farther. The cape is kind of hiding that, but you get a decent range of motion. Moving forward, that's him bending at the torso and a little bit at the hips. and that's with the grapnel gun in the back in the little holder, like I was talking about. Legs swivel at the hips, double jointed knees. He's got so much range of motion. He can kick even higher than that, but I figured let me just give you an idea of how easy it is to get him to kick. And then here, when you see him chambering the leg, you can see that he's got the swivel at the ankle, and he's got the pivot, and his knees go up fairly high. His thighs and knees, they go up pretty high, and you know, they work really well together. His hands, you've got a swivel hinge, you know, like peg hinge, so he can swivel, you know, inner, outer, up, down. So whatever you need him to do, you can position the joint and position the hand on the peg, and you get that off, and it works well. Again, here's the pivot at his feet. He can go farther than that, but it just works really well for like a wide-legged A stance. It's dope. It's well done. Now let's compare. Now for this section, I figured I would just compare a lot of different Batman figures. And some of them, there's a logic behind it. Like here, you have Begins. You have the kind of alternate lower tech armored insurgency costume from Injustice. Of course, Ascending Knight, and then you have the Arkham Origins Batman. They're all roughly the lower budget versions of your Batman designs. Then here are all the video game related ones next to Ascending Knight. So, and you see an evolution, you know, slightly, with the Arkham City Batman having the most high-tech suit of the bunch, and the Insurgency suit being the most low-tech. Then you have the movie ones. I didn't put the Dark Knight suit up there yet, but I will. I wanted to keep the screens clean, you know, and not be too far away. I wanted to be close up. Then you have the some comic book oriented ones, so you can see what elements they took from the comics, you know, and combined with their own design. I mean, you see elements from both symbols there. You see elements from the utility belt, but they upped it to the point where it looks even higher tech than what we recognize as modern Batman, you know? And I love that. And like I told you, you know me. If you've been on my channel for any amount of time, you know I'm a huge Batman fan, but it's just not in the way where I have to own everything Batman. I just own the stuff that makes sense. Here he is next to my favorite Batman of all time, which is Keaton. And they don't really have much in common other than horns, cape, armor, you know, belt. But, you know, there are certain elements, you know, placement of things, of course, because they're following the design, you know, the kind of brow on the mask, but not very much is taken from here. Those little capsule pieces are, you know, present on the Ascending Knight. And then here's the Nolan Batman figures. Or Batman designs, I guess. Not much in common, because Nolan went for that armor thing, and you can see that because they're movie masters, they're really small compared to, you know, him. The DC collectibles ones that I've shown previously, those tend to be bigger. Mattel also tends to be bigger. And then, you know, this one is relevant because we're about to get Mezco coming full circle with their Batman stuff, because the Supreme Knight is a retread or a redo of the Dark Knight Returns Batman, but with Mezco's stamp put on it. So I'm anxious for that because I want to have the beginning, the middle, and the end. So I'm geeked. And now for the bottom line. I love the bottom line because I could have done the whole video and just summed it up here. You know what I mean? With just this, but it's a well done figure. Don't believe the nonsense that you hear from the usual suspects, you know. And I say that a lot, but it's the truth. There's a lot of people out there who I don't know what it is they're looking for. It's very unrealistic. You get a lot in this package, you know, and a lot of Mezco releases, as we've started to see, are not like this, where you get so much for your $80. I didn't even pay $80 for mine. I paid $50. I got mine on eBay. If you look at his right arm near the bicep, you can see there's like someone sewed it up. So that was the issue that they had, and someone returned it, and so they sold it cheaper, and I was like, shit, I'll take it. Batman goes out and fights all day long, right? Or all night long. So the suit will have damages, you know what I mean? And he'll repair the suit, and this is begins. So that's fine. I'm not tripping over something like that. But, you know, even still, there's so much quality in this package. There's so much well done design, there's so much attention to detail. And granted, this is their first take at like a stylized Batman, because this came after BVS, I want to say. So for them to, you know, kind of learn some things from the Batfleck suit and the Batfleck design, and then take it upon themselves to kind of switch things up to make their own, I think they did an amazing job. This feels like it pays perfect homage to the original, you know, Bill Finger suit, and then it brings it into the modern era with things like Nomex gloves, and, you know, with the Kevlar bi-weave suit with the knee pads built into the suit, you know, because this is all stuff that modern military uses, and SWAT and things like that. So it fits for this urban ops kind of feel that Batman has. And the black and gray, it's perfect. It's urban ops colors. It makes sense, you know what I mean? So now, not only did they keep the integrity of the original design, but they're making things fit in the tactical nature of, you know, Batman's whole, you know, persona, his whole, you know, shtick. He feels like an urban operator. Like, that's what he is, essentially. When you break down how he does what he does, he's an extreme, stylized, urban op. That's just all it is, you know what I mean? So it's dope to see them make it look, you know, you can see the beginnings of the mystery. You can also see with poses like this, you can see how people would be freaking out when this guy comes out of the darkness and just wallops somebody's ass, you know what I mean? And then disappears. Because before you get a good look of what did the work, you're only seeing horns, this cape that looks like wings. So if he's moving quickly enough, it's wings, horns, a blur of fists and elbows and knees, and that's it, you know, and explosions in some cases. It's just, it's well done, and I don't have any issues with how they did what they did. He's been so much fun to pose. He looks good in all the poses that I've put him in. I think you know, everything I've seen most people do, if they've at least been paying attention and trying to capture the spirit of the character, you're not going to have any issues. I mean, he's not limited the way that your Mattel figures have been, or some of the even import figures, you know. And I dig just about every inch of this figure. The little details, like the things with the grapple, these are things that you're going to see continue into the other figures, the other versions of Batman. And for me, that works, you know, because even Figuarts, they didn't go that far with their grapple for the movie figures, and the movies showed that stuff. Even Mafex didn't, you know. The new Mafex Batman does, but some of the older ones didn't. And he looks good just, you know, in cinematic situations like this, and, you know, in just play situations that you would be able to put him in, you know, when you're playing in your own world with your figures. So this guy's worth the pickup, you know. So if you can find him for a decent price, pick him up. You will be pleasantly surprised, and you won't be bored. So this has been my look at the Mezco Ascending Knight Batman figure, and I think it's a easy A+. You should pick him up, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. So as always, you guys have been great. Thanks for watching, thanks for listening, and that's it for me. Peace outside.